Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. Before we get into today's show, I want to get your thoughts on Paul Pogba to Manchester United. Would you re-sign him? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. And be sure to drop a like on today's video. Let's try and see 500 likes on this episode. And make sure to subscribe as well, bottom right-hand corner. We will start the show off by talking about that same topic, Paul Pogba. Because there are lots and lots of reports coming out today suggesting that Manchester United are considering re-signing Paul Pogba as a free agent on a short-term pay-as-you-play contract. So it says that Manchester United are considering offering Paul Pogba a short-term contract on strict terms. He is desperate to get back to action. Now, I know there's going to be lots of contrasting thoughts on this. So this is the perfect place to discuss this topic. And I want you to get in the comments now and let me know your thoughts on this particular player. Should Paul Pogba be re-signed by Manchester United? Let me know. I'm very interested to see what other people have to say. So the situation with Pogba is this. He can start training again in March. So what's that, like a week away, 2 weeks away? I think the end of February is next Friday, isn't it? So literally not next week, the week after, he can start training again. How long will it take Paul Pogba to get back to match fitness? That's the big question. He hasn't played football for 18 months. And even before then, he was riddled with injury. I don't know. I think if someone told me Paul Pogba could start playing mid-March, then yeah, obviously you'd go and do that deal. But the likelihood is that he would probably come and, I don't know, I just have this feeling that he would never even play for Man United. He would just come here, train, use our facilities, eat the food, and then not play. And that's not because I don't think he'd want to play. I just think it would take a long time for him to get back to match fitness. And obviously Manchester United aren't going to want to pay him to just come and train and use their facilities, are they? So I think it's a difficult situation because obviously Paul Pogba at his very, very best, I think is worth re-signing 100%. But we haven't seen Paul Pogba at his best for probably 6 years, maybe, since around the World Cup, which was, literally like 5 or 6 years ago. Because even in Paul Pogba's final 2 seasons at Manchester United, he missed about 40 games each year for injury. So it's not like he was on fire for Man United and then he left. He was injured for most of the time. He won the World Cup in 2018, so yes, 7 years ago. And that was when he was at his best, wasn't it? He won the Europa League the year before that with Manchester United, and he won the Serie A 3 years in a row before that. So you can kind of see the trajectory of Paul Pogba. And then after the World Cup, ever since then, he just kind of dipped off a bit, really. And that was 7 years ago this year. So, yeah, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about this one. I mean, his age profile isn't awful. He's 31. He will be 32, though, by the time he can actually play football again, which is in March. And I think, the fact that he hasn't played football for so long and the fact that even when he was playing football, he was injured all the time, the likelihood is, being very, very honest, is that he'll come to Manchester United and we probably will never even see him in a Manchester United shirt again. Because I just think it will take him so long to get back to where he needs to be. I mean, obviously these players, take good care of themselves and all the rest of it. But there's a difference from doing running on a treadmill to playing football in the Premier League. It's not the same. You always hear this match fitness thing, don't you? You see players who have been injured for ages and they're like in the gym, they're on the treadmill, they're doing cardio, and you're like, why are they not playing? Why are they not playing? But it's not as simple as that, because obviously playing like a professional game of football is completely different to running on a machine for an hour. Like, it's not comparable. So yeah, but as I said, I'd be very interested to see what you guys all think about Paul Pogba. Would you like to see him back at Manchester United? I think on a human level, if he needed somewhere to train for a bit, maybe you would let him use our facilities for a little bit. But then there's also an argument that you'd say, why would you do that? He left Manchester United for free. We signed him for 100 million. He didn't succeed, and then he left again. Mankman says that Pogba isn't allowed to play until the end of March. Yeah, the thing is, right, I know he can't play until the end of March, but he's not going to be able to play till the end of March anyway. He's not played football for 18 months. Joe says he is better than Jack Fletcher, who was on our bench. I mean, that's a fair point, yeah. Paul Pogba is a quality player. He's experienced. He's a World Cup winner. He would probably come into that squad and would be the only serial winner in that squad apart from Casemiro. Because we don't have any serial winners in that team when you look through it. When you look from our goalkeeper up to our striker, Onana, not a serial winner. De Ligt isn't. Maguire isn't. Mazraoui isn't. Bruno isn't. Who else plays? Garnacho definitely isn't. Højlund isn't. Xerxes isn't. Dorgu isn't. Dalot isn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, in our team, we don't have any serial winners. And that's actually, just to go on a different topic, that's the biggest risk with Ineos's plan of signing young players, is that you have loads and loads of inexperienced players who aren't serial winners and don't have that mentality, and you try and put them all together, and maybe it works. You know, maybe they all grow together and they feed off each other, but you always need to have, I think, at least 3 or 4 serial winners. People like Pogba, people like Casemiro. I'm not saying that Casemiro is good enough, by the way. I'm just saying there is no doubt that Casemiro is a serial winner in his career. You know, when you see how many Champions Leagues he's won, you see how many La Ligas he's won, etc. Obviously, he's not good enough now, but if you can have 3 or 4 players who are good enough now, who are serial winners, that will massively help the rest of the team. You know, all of the top teams have that. But Man United seem to have, at the moment, lots of young players and then a couple of older players who are past their best, like Casemiro, Eriksen. So yeah, that's their kind of problem. But in short, just to summarise that bit of the section, I really don't know about this Pogba thing. I really, really can't get my head around it. I think, hypothetically, if someone said Paul Pogba's match fit, he could play at the end of March, I would bring him in. But I just honestly think the likelihood is you'd bring him in, and I just feel like we'll probably never see him in a United shirt, because his injury record was so bad before that if he hasn't played for 18 months, how's his body going to react to professional football? You know, is he going to break down again? If he was breaking down whilst he was actually playing professional football, how is his body going to react, 18 months of no football? So, yeah. But obviously, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section. How would you feel about this story? Very interested to see what you guys all think. I know some people think that Pogba disrespected the shirt, disrespected the club. I mean, that's another whole conversation for another day. But just purely from a footballing perspective, I can't really be bothered at the moment to go down the whole, he said, she said, blame game type thing. From a footballing perspective, I think it's a big risk, and I think it's not really the answer. Unless, obviously, he was match fit, which he's not. So, yeah, that's my take on that. Now, we've got some more bizarre stories to get into on the show this morning. It's that time of year where the mood is low and journalists are just pumping out just mad stories at the moment. So there's a story here coming out from a couple of different people this morning saying that apparently Manchester United are looking at signing Joao Cancelo in the summer. I mean, when have we ever been linked to Joao Cancelo? Arguably, he's better than anything we've got at the moment in the right back and left back position, to be fair. So I'm not going to slag him off for that. But the thing that confuses me the most about this story is he's currently injured. He's got a leg injury, and there's no idea when he's going to come back from that. It's just a little bit strange. And I think, I get why we've been linked to Joao Cancelo. He's obviously Portuguese. It's like a really easy story that could just be like made up, I think. Because obviously you've got the Portuguese national team link with Ruben Neves. Ruben Amorim. Obviously he's in the Saudi league as well, which is probably not where he wants to be at the age of 30. I'm sure he's being paid handsomely to be there. But do we think a player of Joao Cancelo's quality, who was at Bayern Munich, Manchester City and Barcelona, really, from a footballing perspective, wants to be playing in the Saudi league at the age of 30? Probably not, to be honest. But would I take Joao Cancelo at Manchester United? That's the big question. I mean, I probably would, to be fair. I mean, I can't sit here and say I wouldn't. Dalot's not very good. Luke Shaw's injured permanently. Malasia's gone. We don't really have any options, do we? And he is a player who can play as a left back or a right back. So yeah, I mean, obviously there's the Man City links there, but I mean, it's happened before, hasn't it? It's happened before where Man City players have come to United and vice versa. You think of Tevez, you think of Schmeichel, you think of, there's been lots of players where it has happened. So, and obviously those players were much higher profile, like Carlos Tevez, and Schmeichel was a much bigger blow than if Joao Cancelo came. But age profile, again, that's maybe a little bit of a question mark. He's 30 years of age. He'll be 31 by the time the summer comes around, probably wanting massive wages. I mean, what was he earning at? Let's have a look at what he was earning at Man City. I imagine it was over 200 grand a week. Let's have a look. Let's have a little look at his wages at Man City. Where are we? I mean, he was only earning 80 grand a week at Man City, so that's not actually that bad. When you think that Dalot, I think, earns more than that. Let's have a look at Dalot's wage. Yeah, we paid Diogo Dalot 85 grand a week, and Man City were paying Joao Cancelo in his prime 80,000 a week. So in his prime, Joao Cancelo was earning £5,000 or less playing for the Premier League champions who just won a Champions League. So, but obviously he's gone to Saudi and he's earning 250,000 a week now with no tax, which is absolutely mental, isn't it? I mean, even at Juventus, he was only earning 70 grand a week. Do I think this will happen? Probably not. It's probably just another story that gets put out into the media to try and, create a narrative. But at the moment, I think a player of his quality and with his experience would actually be quite decent for this Man United team, because at the moment we've got no players with any quality, really. No players with any experience. As I said, we have no serial winners in this team, and that's a fact. When you think that Bruno Fernandes is our captain, right? And you look at Bruno Fernandes's trophy cabinet in his career. Bruno Fernandes is 30 years of age now. He's the same age as Joao Cancelo. He's nearly 31. And in his whole career, the only trophies he's won at club level. This is actually mad when I say this. I've said it a few times on the show, but every time I bring up this topic, it completely blows my mind. So the club captain of Manchester United, the player that everyone should be looking up to, in his whole career, at the age of 30, has won one Portuguese Cup, an FA Cup, a League Cup, and a Portuguese League. And that's it. So he's won 4 trophies in his whole career. Some would argue that the League Cup's not a proper trophy. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, out of those 4 trophies, the only one that you can really say is a proper trophy is the Portuguese League. Obviously, that was a big achievement with Sporting, and the FA Cup. Like the Carabao Cup, some teams don't even play their first team in the semi-final because they don't care about it. So, yeah, I mean, he's won nothing major at international level. He's not won a Champions League. He's never even won like a Europa League or a Conference League. And that's our captain. So, it's easy for us to turn our nose up at players like Joao Cancelo and say, oh, no, I don't want them. He's too old. But at the moment, we don't have any seasoned professionals. We don't have any winners. We've just got a whole bunch of overpaid, underperforming players who've not really achieved much in the game. And that's a fact. You just have to look through the spine of our team. The only one that's an exception is Casemiro, and he doesn't play. If you look through Højlund, right? Let's just do another example quickly. Højlund's our main striker, right? In his whole career, Højlund's won one FA Cup last year. I know he's still young. I get all of that. He's won an FA Cup and an Austrian Cup, and that's it. I mean, it's nothing, isn't it? I mean, even De Ligt, right? De Ligt's a bit more of a seasoned professional. De Ligt's been around a long time. De Ligt's probably the only player there, really, that's actually won a lot. He's won the Italian League, the German League, the Dutch League, the Dutch Cup, the Italian Super Cup, and the Italian... Yeah, so De Ligt's won a few trophies, to be fair. But, I mean, a lot of these were like in 2018, so like 6-7 years ago. So, yeah, I think, somebody's saying the Euro Cup is a big cup. What Euro Cup are you talking about? Bruno hasn't won a Euro Cup. He's never won a European Cup. No. Fred says, do you think there's any truth in these Qatar rumours? I mean, that was the most mental story that came out yesterday. And some of the comments on this post, I'm not going to say where it came from because I just think that it's the biggest load of rubbish. So an account on Twitter a faceless account on Twitter, so not even a journalist, just one of these aggregator accounts who puts out stories, put out a story yesterday saying that they've been exclusively told by Sheikh Jassim that he's now going to buy Manchester United again. This was obviously coming on the day after we lose to Tottenham and everyone's miserable and the fan base are upset. And this account on Twitter expects us to believe that Sheikh Jassim has come to them directly, a faceless Twitter account, to give them an exclusive story that he's going to buy the club again. And I just saw a comment on the comment section just saying, like, you really expect us to believe that Sheikh Jassim has picked up the phone to call these people? Like, why would he not call David Ornstein, Fabrizio Romano, like, or even someone like what's it called? I can't think of the name of the website, the financial website. I can't remember what it's called off the top of my head. But you know, they expected people to believe that they'd been contacted directly by Sheikh. It's just rubbish. It's complete rubbish. It's just trying to get clicks. And I think most Man United fans didn't believe it, and obviously won't believe it. It's rubbish. It's complete rubbish. I'm sure Sheikh Jassim would still like to buy Manchester United, I'm sure, but it's not going to happen. It won't happen. You know? It's just not. Ant says, my main concern this summer is that 5 or 6 players will leave and Ineos will only bring in 2 or 3. I mean, yeah, that is a concern because 5 or 6 players will go. Eriksen's contract's up. Johnny Evans' contract's up. Tom Heaton's contract's up. Malacia will probably stay at PSV. Anthony will probably leave. That's already 5 players, right? So you're right in that sense. Lindelof, Eriksen, Tom Heaton, Anthony, Malacia, they'll probably all go. Then you've got Rashford, Sancho. That's another 2 players. You're up to 7 now. Garnacho, I reckon there's massive question marks about Garnacho's future. Would he end up going? That's 8 players already. So, yeah. I mean, realistically, to see Ruben Amorim style football, we need another whole 10 players. We need a new goalkeeper, new centre-backs, wing-backs. The only players that I would probably keep for Ruben Amorim's system is Manuel Ugarte, because obviously he played it at Sporting when he was there with Ruben Amorim. Patrick Dorgu, because obviously he's a Ruben Amorim signing. And then the rest of the starting players, Ahmad, I think, can do it. Bruno, I don't think works in the system, really. The centre-backs don't really work in the system. Højlund is just completely ineffective in any system. Garnacho, I don't think massively works in the system, but he's at least trying. So yeah, I think that is a concern because if Ineos only bring in 2 or 3 players in the summer, that's not going to make any difference because that still means that Ruben Amorim will only have like 3 or 4 of his own players. They need to do like a Chelsea where they completely gut the squad and get rid of 10, 15 players and sign 10, 15 players. It has to be one of those windows where we spend like 300-400 million and we sell like 200-300 million pounds worth of players. We get 25 for Sancho, we get 40 for Rashford. We sell Casemiro for 10. Maybe we try and move on Maguire before his contract expires. It has to be that kind of window where we're like ruthlessly selling players. Yeah. Right, let's move on to Casemiro. I can see a couple of people talking about him in the chat. So I don't know if anybody saw this interview yesterday, but Casemiro did an interview with... Who was it with? I think it was with a Brazilian newspaper saying that he doesn't want to leave Manchester United. He's got 1 more year on his contract and he's going to stay till the end of his contract. So Casemiro says this on his contract. He says, I have to keep doing what I'm doing with a lot of respect and good behaviour. Of course, I'd like to play more. I don't know any player who doesn't want to play, and I want to help the club at this time. I face things with respect for my teammates and the staff, and above all, respect for United. I have 1.5 years left on my contract, and I would like to stay here and see out the rest of that time in Manchester. So effectively, he's saying he doesn't want to go, or he's not going to go. He's going to stay until 2026. Another year of paying Casemiro 350k a week to sit on the bench. I mean, he might just be saying that, but I don't know why he'd put that story out there. Like, him putting out that story isn't going to make Ruben Amorim suddenly start picking him every game, Apparently, between now and the end of his contract at Man United, he's going to earn £25 million in wages. And you know, we can all agree that he was absolutely woeful against Tottenham, wasn't he? Terrible. I feel sorry for him, but at the same time, I don't, because he's earning 350 grand a week. I feel sorry that like football has left him, and this league is just far too physical and far too fast and far too competitive for him. But that's just what happens in life, isn't it? Sometimes you have to accept that you're not at that level anymore, and he should just move on gracefully. But it seems like he doesn't want to do that. But you know, as Malp says in the chat, you also can't blame him. He has a legal contract with Manchester United. Yes, from a sporting level, on a personal level, you would expect him to say, I want to go and play football. I want to, you know, maybe I'll go to Saudi. But at the same time, we were the ones who were stupid enough to give him 350k a week on a 5-year deal, I think it was. And he had one good season, and then he's been absolutely awful for the rest of it. So, Ant says he gets a free pass for the Spurs game. He's had no game time recently and no match fitness. It was unfair to start him. I mean, that's a fair point. That's a fair point, I guess. But it's not like it was a one-off. He's been like that for pretty much the last 18 months, even when he has been playing under Ten Hag. So, but what I will say is this, actually. I want to be fair in my analysis. Some of that fault does lie on Ruben Amorim, because what did Ruben Amorim really expect? Playing a midfield two of Casemiro, who even when he was in his prime could barely run. When he was winning Champions Leagues at Real Madrid, he wasn't fast. You've got a midfield two of Casemiro and Bruno Fernandes as a CDM. Bruno's not the quickest. Bruno's not good defensively. So you've got one player who hasn't played football in 6 months in Casemiro, who's slow, regardless of whether he's past his best or not. He is slow, playing alongside Bruno Fernandes. I mean, surely in that game you would say, right, let's fill out the midfield a little bit. Let's put 3 players in midfield. Let's do, I don't know, you could have done Casemiro, Seko Kone and Bruno as your midfield, or I don't know. You could have put someone else in the midfield. I know Lindelof's played as a CDM. I know we're clutching on straws a little bit here, but the point I'm making is you're playing away from home in the Premier League, and you're playing 2 midfielders, and our midfield just got overrun again, which meant that Casemiro looked rubbish. Whereas if you had 3 midfielders there, I think you probably would have been a little bit better. So, you know, there's criticism pointing in lots of different directions. And Ant says Bruno has 0 positional discipline either. Yeah, of course, he doesn't. He's running around all over the place constantly. So, yeah, I agree with you there. Any more questions coming in? This is a good question, actually. Somebody in the chat says, what are your predictions for where we might finish next year? That's a really good question. People can get involved in the comment section on that one. Where do you think Manchester United will finish next year? Now, I know it's a long time away. I know, obviously, we've got to have a transfer window. We've got to, you know, do a pre-season. There's so much details that need to go into that decision. But at the beginning of this season, I was berated by some other United fans because I said I think we'll finish between 6th and 8th this season, as in the season we're in right now. And people were like, what are you talking about? We'll definitely be in the top 4. Like we should be challenging. And I said, that's not going to happen. When I looked at the transfer business other teams did in the summer, in and around us, they all had better windows than us. And I just didn't think it was enough. So my prediction for this season we're in now was that we'd finish between 6th and 8th. I think next season, I mean, a top half finish would be progress, wouldn't it? So in the top 10, between 6th and 10th, I'll probably say would be my prediction now if I had to say. And that probably won't be enough. You know, if we finish between 6th and 6th and 10th next season, I imagine people will start to turn on Ruben Amorim, won't they? I mean, they turned on Erik Ten Hag after he finished 3rd and won a trophy in his first year. Ruben Amorim's set to finish pretty much in the relegation zone with nothing this year at this rate. So, yeah. The thing is, right, with Ruben, I think his personality and his likability has earned him a lot of credit. And I just really like him as a person, and I think he's honest, which we like. Whereas Erik Ten Hag, I know, used to frustrate the fans with his inability to be honest with the fan base. Johnny says the window was really good. Xerxes was the only bad player. I think Xerxes has been one of our best signings, to be fair. De Ligt, I don't think it's been amazing. Ugarte, I think, has been good. Mazraoui, I think, was good for maybe the first 5 games, and he's fallen off a cliff now. Xerxes actually been all right the last few games, and you can actually see what he offers. I mean, from the players we signed in the summer, the only one that I can 100% say improved our team was Manuel Ugarte. I don't think Xerxes improved our team that much. I don't think Mazraoui has. Lenny Yoro, I think, is obviously one for the future, but he hasn't improved our team massively this year, has he? That's pretty clear to see. He's definitely going to be good in the future, but he's not taken us to that next level. Whereas I think Manuel Ugarte will take us to that next level. He's the only signing we made, which was like, yes, this has really, really worked. De Ligt is just, I don't know. I think De Ligt is like a 6, 7 out of 10 player. He's always like consistent, but he's never world class. He's not a Van Dijk. He's not a Saliba. He's not a Gabriel. He's not a world class centre back. He's a consistent 6 or 7 out of 10 centre back, in my opinion. I don't think we'll ever see like an 8 or a 9 out of 10 from De Ligt. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just what I've seen so far. He's never had any terrible games, but he's never had any amazing games. He's always just consistently like above average, 6, 7 out of 10. Whereas Mazraoui had a couple of really good games and then a couple of really bad games. Manuel Ugarte has been consistent the whole time, like a 7 out of 10. But anyway, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Thank you very much for watching the show today. Please do make sure to drop a like before you leave today. Yeah, make sure you subscribe as well. I'm going to wrap up the video here. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. Enjoy your Tuesdays, and I'll speak to you all tomorrow. Bye for now.